This is The Metro on WDET. I'm Tia Graham. In this hour, what will it take for Black romance to be versatile, dynamic, and accessible? We unpack the genre and explore why these stories struggle to make it on store shelves. Plus, in anticipation of Women's History Month, we'll unpack the 2026 Olympics and the women who made history. What does it really take to perform on the sport's biggest stage? But first, we're opening the show talking about love. For generations, we've all followed along happily ever after fairy tale love stories. We learn early on in life who gets to be loved and who doesn't. Oftentimes, those characters from these stories are written through a specific lens, a white lens. And rarely are these great romantic tales centering Black characters or characters of color at all. Black love stories are seen as a niche genre, one that too often centers trauma or love under the conditions of poverty and strife. That may be true for some, but it doesn't represent every Black love story. The State of Racial Diversity in Romance Publishing Study tracks the publication of books written by writers of color. This tracks publishing in the traditional romance genre. And this is part of the Ripped Bodice's annual report. And according to findings, in 2024, only 11% of the books published within the romance genre were from writers of color. And that's a decrease from its peak in 2022, in which writers of color made up only 12% of romance novels. In the words of the famous author Toni Morrison, if there is a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, you must be the one to write it. So, what does it mean to call Black love niche, and who decides which love stories are universal? Tonight at 6:30, local romance author Sylvia Hubbard invites community members to engage in discussion about Black representation within romance novels. And she joins me now. Sylvia, welcome to the Metro.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Honored to be here.
I'm excited to have you here as well and unpack this very, very important subject. So, what first made you want to write Black love stories in particular?
I would say I was 12 years old and I was in the Detroit Public Library, and I walked past a Fabio cover. And I don't know if anyone knows a Fabio, but when you see a Fabio, I went from 12 to 40. I wanted to know, what did this person do? Because I was just 12 years old and I was like, oh my gosh, let's see what's going to happen. So I went up and I asked the librarian, I'm checking out the book. And she's like, no. And I was like, what?
Why?
And so I did what any Detroiter would do. I took that book. That book was mine. And I took it and I left it. It was a Thursday. I know it was a Thursday. And I left it in there because I was panicking that the library cop would come and get me. And I took it to church Sunday.
No.
And I'm reaching in to get my Bible for Sunday school, and out popped that book. And I'm like, oh, me and the Lord are going to have an explanation. But let's see what this has to offer. And I put that inside my Bible. And for 4 hours at church, because it was a Black church. So, for 4 hours, I'm just engaged in this beautiful story. And and people say, oh, because it had, adult scenes and things like that. But it wasn't. It was the love, the intimacy, the caring that people can build between each other. It was the happily ever after. I was engaged in that. And I think that is really where my journey began, because I felt I wanted to give this love story to everybody, because growing up in Detroit, you don't feel that. You don't see that. You don't experience that. And I felt that I, as a Detroiter, it was my right to show that there is love, and there is love in the city of Detroit. And if you get it here, you can get it anywhere, girl.
Okay, I mean, that's not a lie at all. When you brought up Fabio, that's one of the first images I thought of just growing up and seeing romance novels,
Right.
that picture, flowing hair, shirt,
Right.
open just a little bit, or even the white horse and the next,
Yes.
whatever it may be, you had this certain image of what romance was from
Right.
those book covers. Do you remember the first romance novel where you saw yourself for the first time, actually yourself in the book?
Beverly Jenkins. That is the
Detroit native.
Detroit shero of the Michigan shero, actually, of romance. I had skipped school. I know. I am such a horrible. I had skipped school and I wanted to go to the Novi Women Expo, and I went down there, and it was the first time I had ever seen a Black writer in face to face, to see them standing beside the book, to know representation. When they say representation matters, until you see someone in that position and like this can happen. And she was a historical romance writer on top of that, because I was really into historicals at that time, and to see that there were Black love stories back then that people actually, and she, in her romance novels, she does real historical facts in there, real Black historical facts. So to know that love happened back then for us as a young woman, it helped me to see, like, it's possible to be able to write these stories and bring these stories to life, but to also experience them as well. So to know it's people say it's a fantasy, and they say romance with a roll of an eye, but it's not. It's true. It's there, and you can have it.
Sylvia, recently we've been just unpacking certain things when we talk about love within the Metro team and in general. And one thing that struck me as interesting was unpacking and learning that love existed in slavery and enslavement. And
Yes.
that it was important to highlight that. So when you bring in Beverly Jenkins, who is a Detroit native,
Yes.
a Detroit native of historical romance novels, and a Black woman doing it, and been doing it for a while now, talk about the importance of having those historical takes, especially with the facts included
Yes.
from Beverly Jenkins, highlighting Black love.
Yeah, that love survives, that love thrives, and especially with the African American community, we are given so many horrible things about our history. To know that was one light in the world of darkness that brought things to realism for us. Love connects us. Love brings us strength. It helps us to keep going on. It puts our feet on the floor every morning. Love is powerful, and they so much try to take that away from us. They hide it. They make it feel like, oh, it's just a Disney movie. And in this world, especially in Detroit, I think you have to understand you need that in order to know that your dreams, your hopes, that you are real.
Sylvia, how has love, whether it be romantic or familial, in your life influenced your writing?
I would say my mother, I think her love for us helped me to become a writer. She always centered upon loving us all differently, and it was a lot of us. it was a lot of us.
How many siblings?
I'm in all right now. It's 9.
Wow,
It's 9 siblings.
yeah.
But she would hone in on what we were good at, even if we didn't know. So people always ask me, well, when did you really want to be a writer? And it wasn't me. It was actually my mom. And because she loved me, okay, I don't know if well, she can't go to jail now, but so 5 or 6 or 7, she actually told this story when someone asked the question to me, and she was like, no, that's not what happened. But what happened was I would lie to her all the time, and I just come up with a lie just to lie. So she would make me write my lie down. And then and this was after the first butt whooping. So then I would come write my lie down and then come back and tell her read the lie back to her. However many pages I wrote, which I didn't figure out later. I should have wrote it a little shorter.
Yeah.
was the second butt whooping, because it wasn't the lie that got you the punishment. It was the extreme of the lie. How much, and that's what in humankind I realized is what hurts humankind, is the weight you put on that lie. So I learned, number one, not to lie to my mother and just not lie at all. And my pain became my pleasure, where I enjoyed more storytelling than telling lies. So that's probably why I don't have a lot of friends. But but I learned that, doing what you love, bringing that passion and knowing that that's a gift, I do contribute it towards my mother loving me enough to put in me, this is what you were meant to do, but do it in a good way.
Take this superpower and use it for good.
Right, use it for good.
Try not to use it to, manipulate a situation. I love that little story there, just about the connection you have with your mom and that love, and how that love informed your writing and informed you as an author, which is very, very important to pull from some space of love, no matter where it's coming from. I mean, you have 9 siblings, or 8 siblings. So it's 9 of you all.
Yeah.
And I just think about the love that was just in that space, in that home with all those people there.
And people always say, when they are reading love stories, or when they're finding out, about romance and everything, because they're like, well, for the romance genre, it's a cut and dry kind of beat of story. They fall in love, they realize they want to be in love, then they break up, they get back together, and then you have the happily ever after, and they're like, well, why do I have to keep writing that over and over and over again? But you have to understand, people can fall in love billions and billions of different ways, and how it all comes together is that you are given this specific type of love story for you, and so that's why this genre is so popular, is because yes, we know what's going to happen. We know no matter what, there will be a happily ever after.
Yes,
it has to be. That's a romance novel, but the journey is what makes it exciting, and you can apply that even to life, to know that don't just look at the end of the road. Look at the journey that you're going through, because that's where the real experiences happen. So, yes, I know I talk about it so much because I love it.
I mean, and it's such a beautiful way. I mean, we're talking about Black romance novels and the importance of representation. I'm Tia Graham, and you're listening to The Metro. Our guest is Sylvia Hubbard, a local author of over 70 books. And tonight, you can join Sylvia for a live conversation at Royal Oak Public Library about Black representation within romance novels. Now, Sylvia, a large portion of Black stories center, race, trauma, or social justice. We're talking just a little bit about it. Why is it important to write stories that go beyond those topics?
Because all in center, whether it's love between a human and a human, the world, a human between religion, love abounds throughout everything. Every great story has some type of love story involved. A lot of people do just focus on just the romance, but it's not that. It's the connection that you as a being have towards everything and anyone around you. And in order for you to proceed through life, you have to make connections with that in order to understand the next part of the journey. So if you don't fall in love with something, someone, you will never really experience what real life is. So bringing that to life, knowing that, yes, there is trauma, there is heartache. Trust me, I am from Plymouth and Greenfield, Cody High. I know trauma.
Joy in Southfield.
I know trauma. I know death. I know all of that. But I also know at the center of it all, love must come through and survive in order for me to get up every morning and say, I am going to live a life that I will love, I will experience. I'm not just going to be here, I'm going to live here.
How do you approach writing intimacy in a way that feels authentic? How do you make them feel emotionally significant to Black readers? I'm talking about your characters.
Because anything that you do, it's not, and it just goes back to that experience. It's not about what you see. It's about what you smell, taste, touch, and everything else that goes with the other senses and everything. So bringing intimacy to life when you are bringing two characters who either have never met or want to take it to the next plateau, it's actually fun for me. And I guess it's because my mom was an educator and my dad was a chemist. So it's all about bringing science and humanity and the heart together and showing the reader that, especially for women, this is not just a physical thing. This is mental. This is spiritual. We're going deep. Really deep. But and people forget that is the for women, that's the biggest sexual organ, is the brain. And to produce the most powerful chemicals naturally, I mean, why aren't men jumping on this? You would have women addicted to you. If you give me some dopamine, I'm following you like a puppy home. Where do you want to know how to do this? Open up a romance book, because that's all we bring to life, is that bringing that dopamine and the other chemicals involved, the oxytocin, and showing on paper how that transpires with your character. It can come off in so many different ways. I was talking to one group and we were talking about braingasms, and it was like, no, they were like, no, what you mean? There's no such thing. And I was like, well, obviously you have not. You've not had one. If you don't know one. But we produce chemicals more powerful than what they could ever synthetically make. And to know you can experience that and write about it, it's just fun. So knowing myself and my body, and I have to thank my dad as a chemist. You know, we were always researching, always knowing what's going on with our body, especially as women. I have to thank him for really helping me understand, okay, when this happens, this happens. When this happens, this happens. And then he's like, okay, but you know, men will just keep going. You got to say stop. So thank you, Dad,
shout out
for
to
that.
Dad.
But it helps me understand the chemical reactions, the mental reactions, the emotional reactions that we have, and putting that on paper. It's just so fun. It's just really exciting. And to be able to do it and then have women come back and say, or even have readers just come back and say, oh my gosh, I felt like a fly on the wall, or they was literally on the bed with me. Or just feeling that moment when you create characters who instantly just shake the room. The temperature changes, the blood flow just slows down, and just your world becomes centered around that other protagonist that is coming towards you. It's just great to feel readers feel that I felt when I first saw that character, male character, come in the room, because we do have those changes and we don't see them until you read them in a book and like, oh, that's what I felt when I saw, that guy, and this is what's happening. So I know I get into it, and it's
No, I'm enthralled right now. I'm just sitting here listening to you go, because it's just so, it's great to experience this or have this conversation with an author who's actively within this space. And I'm going to continue this conversation. We're going to continue this conversation. We're chatting with Sylvia Hubbard, a local author of over 70 romance novels. And we're talking about Black romance novels and the lack of Black representation within the space. When we return, we'll continue the conversation and unpack the importance of viewing Black romance as more than a subgenre. You all stay right there. We'll be right back. This is The Metro. It's The Metro on WDET. I'm Tia Graham, and we're speaking with author Sylvia Hubbard about Black romance novels and their significance within the romance genre. Sylvia has written over 70 Black romance novels, including Drawing the Line, Wicked Chances, and the Dark Facade series. Tonight at 6:30 at Royal Oak Library, you can join Sylvia for a discussion about the lack of Black representation in romance novels and how we can see more hitting the shelves. So, Sylvia, jumping back into the conversation, do you consciously write stories without those stereotypes about Black relationships? Are you trying to overcome some of those, or are you leaning into some of them as well?
I lean into them.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, I'm from the streets of Detroit. You can't help but lean into them. Seriously, I say 99% of my books are based in Detroit.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, well, why don't you go somewhere else? Because it's Detroit. It's Detroit. And I want people to know the struggles and the beauty and the hardship that people go through as you are navigating life, but also those once in a lifetime experiences, this could possibly happen to you. Those unique meet cutes can only happen in Detroit. Can only happen in Detroit. And I want to bring that to life and represent what's out there in the world, to show that even a person who is getting up every day is a single mom. I write about single moms, about, trying to take care of their parents or trying to take care of their family's legacy, trying to open up a small business. We have stories to tell and we have struggles that's going on. And oh my God, love happens.
And Sylvia, what do you say to people who feel like those depictions aren't representative enough?
It needs to be 20 times more, because they're the people that get up and they matter to the world. They're the ones that keep the world running and working, and they deserve the best love story ever, to show that it can happen, that happiness is somewhere and it's gonna happen to you. It may not be what you imagine, but it is what you need. And I think people like us, the little people, need to see that. That single mom does need to know that she is the center of the life of somebody, that someone is obsessed with her, that, even though she hears mommy, 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 somebody actually says her name. And says it, that they're not yelling and they're not screaming and they're not angry with her. She wants to hear her name. And that's what brings me to write these stories, because true life, that's what happened to me. I realized I hadn't heard my name in over 5 years. Wow. Unless someone was yelling at me, or it was an employer, or it was somebody who was angry at me. And when I heard my name said, like in a way that just shook my soul, I was like, I wonder how many other women have not heard their name in a nice way. And especially like when a man growls it, just, I
was going to say in a romantic way or in a passionate way. I think a lot of people can,
and we don't hear that.
Yeah.
And it's a awesome, that's an aphrodisiac in itself, just to know that, when Beyonce say my name, I want to hear that. I want to hear you say it like you mean it, like this is what you need to hear every day. You never want to say another name ever in your life. You just want to say my name. And I think we all need to have that kind of love. I want somebody to be obsessed with me. And who doesn't?
I was going to say.
Who doesn't?
I was going to say.
I want to be somebody's drug, somebody's addiction, and bringing those stories and knowing that could happen. If men really understood that, there would be no male loneliness crisis.
Listen, I hope that the men are taking note here. Message, seriously, in the bottle. Hopefully they're catching it wherever they are near some water, the Detroit River maybe. But Sylvia, just listening to you talk about this and the way that you're expressing the love and passion and lust that a woman may feel within your stories especially, how do you see that as something that is universal and can be representative of all women? All women can see themselves in this story, whether it is about or centering a Black woman.
Because I think all women, and I give this advice because I got it from my father. You are the gift. You are the table. And they should be bringing things to you. Most of these men don't even know how to pick up a hammer and make a table. But you are the table. And you should know that you deserve whatever is blessed upon you. So this is a universal message to know that they don't want you to know your power. Because if you knew that he saved the best for last, you would get up every day and walk into a room and be the phenomenal woman that you are. And that's what these stories do give you, that yes, there is one person, but you are woman. Roar.
I so much love that. I just love the idea of, number one, just these stories being universal and being able to cross all cultural boundaries, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from. You
and
can
I
understand
think as an African-American woman, we can see from the back of the room. You know, you won't give us a seat at the front, but even at the back of the room, we see how everything is happening, how everything is interconnected, and we can bring things together because we are sitting at the back. So we see everybody. So yes, you did not let me sit at the front. You did not even let me get to the podium, but I already know the solution to the problem y'all having. And that's the power of hearing a Black love story, is that woman holds the power to the answers that everybody needs in life, in love, in every journey. We hold the answers, and that's the beautiful thing. If anybody says, if you had to do it all over again and choose who you wanted to be, I would still become a Black woman, because we are strong, we are powerful, and the reason they put you down is because they know your strength and you need to find it. I'm sorry. I start preaching because I love myself. Thank you, Mama. Thank you, Daddy. But, and I want other women to see that. I want them to know that. And when they read my stories, to know that, you are more powerful than you are. You are stronger than what they tell you, because you will always get up. You will always keep going. And you know that it's going to get better.
We're talking about Black romance novels and the importance of representation. I'm Tia Graham, and you're listening to The Metro. Our guest is Sylvia Hubbard, a local author of over 70 romance novels. And tonight, you can join Sylvia for a live conversation at Royal Oak Public Library. And you will hear a continued conversation about Black representation within romance novels and add your own voice into this discussion as well. But I do want to talk to you as we get down towards the end of our conversation here, just a little bit about being a Black author and being in this space of publishing and what that looks like, because you were just talking about being in the back of the room, and I imagine that's what it feels like being a Black publisher right now, just kind of being in the back of that space, looking out and seeing how it's all being divvied up. So how do you balance writing about these topics that you're interested in versus what a publisher may seek?
It's hard, because they wanted you to jump on the bandwagon. But of course, as an African American woman, we're not the bandwagon. We are not the bandwagon. And they try to change your story or try to gloss over the horrors or the traumas. But in order for love to be experienced, it has to be experienced 100%, not 50%, not 25%. It has to be 100%. So us bringing the trauma, the hardships to life, that has to be loved as well. So when you go to a publisher and they say, oh, well, can you please not mention this part, or please don't, can you even make this character white instead of Black? And you're like, that's not how that love story is involved. And a lot of times when I have gone to traditional publishers, because I have published 7 independently published, which means I went around the table and just jumped in line. So when you go to traditional publishers and they say, okay, well, we need this character to be white, or we need this character to not be this ethnic. Yeah. But it makes the story for me, because that's the way the love happened. So fighting and then just getting on the shelves, when I first started in 2000, they would literally take Black romance stories and just throw them in the African American section. They wouldn't even put Black romance in the romance section of the bookstore. We're talking about the bookstore. They wouldn't even put us in the romance section of the bookstore. We just got shoved with African American books. That means I'm by Langston Hughes.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Why am I by Langston Hughes? You know, why am I by Harriet Tubman autobiography? Yeah. You know, it wasn't really until literally almost less than 10 years ago we were allowed to be over in the romance section, and then even then we don't even get face out. You know, we don't even. You would be shocked. You could go into a bookstore today. Do you see any end caps with Black romance writers? Only, February, maybe a Juneteenth, you know, ooh, wow. But you don't see it, and you don't see how that matters to us. And it is a way to suppress love, which is very much needed. So, yes, we are still fighting. Even in our Black spaces, you could go to Black TikTok or Black Instagram. You have other people coming and saying, why do you talk like that? Why does that happen? Why are you always talking about this? Leave. Like my daddy said, if you don't like the conversation in the room, get up and go. Yeah. So even in our spaces and even in our books, they want to control the story. And that is why we need to even fight harder to bring those stories to life. Like you said, if there is a story to tell, write it. If you read a story and you didn't feel it was justly said or justly done, then write the story you felt should have been said, and stop letting other people dictate what your voice is. Who tells the story is the narrator, is the controller of the story. Stop letting other people tell your story.
So as we get down, like I said, the last 2 minutes here.
I get
so
passionate. I'm sorry.
Yes, the last 2 minutes here, because I want to get to these last two questions here. Okay. The first one, what should readers expect from your new releases of books this year? I know I saw at least 3 new releases this year that are set to come out. So what can people expect from your books releases this year?
Lots of trauma. Lots of trauma, but lots of, and I love betrayal. I'm a romance suspense author, so I'm literally telling 2 stories at one time. So I'm telling a suspenseful, because I like people to fall in love, but I like to kill people too. I'm from Detroit. I can't help it. So not necessarily in that order. Yeah. There will be a happily ever after. So expect, of course, a love story, but expect realism in terms of people having to struggle for what they really need. Because like I said, people can have an imagine of what they want, but it's really what they need. And that's what I try to give in every story.
And lastly, finish this sentence. Black romance deserves
more recognition, more shelf time, more eyes. Even if you've never picked up a romance novel at all, pick up a Black romance today and just drown yourself in it. Refer other readers to it. Support local authors, because it comes right back into the community. Encourage literacy at all levels. You know, instead of doom scrolling, pick up a book. Instead of like listening to videos, go listen to an audiobook. Support authors in all aspects, especially Black authors, and give those voices more time in your head instead of all this negative stuff.
Sylvia Hubbard is an author of over 70 self-published romance novels, and she has a community discussion tonight at the Royal Oak Public Library at 6:30. Sylvia, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro and expanding on the idea of Black romance novels.
Right. Thank you, and I hope everybody follows me and for more events to come.
Coming up, this Winter Olympics, U.S. athletes made history. Both U.S. hockey men's and women's won gold medals, and it's the first gold medal win for the women's team since 2018. Alyssa Liu became the first U.S. woman to win Olympic individual figure skating a gold medal, and that's in 24 years. And Amber Glenn, she's a bronze medal winner and the first openly queer figure skater. We're all about women of the Olympics coming up next. You all stay right there. This is the Metro.